So in this segment, we're going to be talking about M&S closing 11 stores in France and blaming Brexit. I think one of the things that would be worth pointing out here is I don't know how many French people actually buy Marks and Spencer sandwiches like ham and cheese or whatever else they make. I'd assume these are predominantly British people living in France. I could be wrong. If I am, feel free to correct me in the comments. But yeah. So, Marks and Spencer's has said it's closing 11 of its French stores because of problems supplying them with fresh and chilled foods since Brexit. And obviously, certain chilled meats are banned. We can't export those into France because of Brexit. And with fresh foods, it's difficult, especially for mixed consignments. Mixed consignments are when you have, ham and cheese sandwich, for example. That's a nightmare to export because you've got the cheese, obviously an animal-based product, which you're going to have to show the documents for that. And obviously you've got ham, which is an animal product, which you're going to have to show the paperwork for that. And that's a nightmare for customs, for, lorry drivers. I think it's around like 300 documents or something they have to carry, which is crazy. But that's the reality of being a third country. So UK retail giant said all 11 franchise stores it opened with partner SFH in France would shut by the end of the year. M&S said supply chain problems since Brexit had made it near impossible to maintain standards of food supply. So, this is going to impact French workers, of course, because they'll be predominantly working in these stores. But it does show you the reality of the situation, especially since, What frustrates me most is that the M&S guy could have set up manufacturing for sandwiches within France, for the EU, for example. He didn't do it, and I don't know why. And if I was someone who had shares in M&S, I'd be calling for the current CEO or whoever the guy is to go. I would, but I don't have shares in M&S, so. M&S had a long history of serving customers in France. Well, that history is going to end, and this is not a decision we or our partner SFH have taken lightly, said Paul Friston, M&S Managing Director of International. Director of International Trade. Surely that should be how it ends. However, as things started today, the supply chain complexities in place following the UK's exit from the EU now make it near impossible for us to serve fresh and chilled products to customers to the high standards they expect, resulting in an ongoing impact on their performance on our business. Well, you could source the goods from Ireland or you could make them in France. I'm sure the French will be happy with that. Why don't they do that? I don't get it. Its French online operation, which sells mainly clothing and home products, will not be affected by the closures. So let's think about this. So the fresh fruit and the sandwiches and stuff have been impacted, but not clothing and home products. Is it because these products have a longer shelf life and typically don't have things like the stringent checks that food does? What you'll need for clothing and home products would be rules of origins for the most part, and obviously like certain home products you might require a CE mark. That's about it. So this right here does tell you a lot. One of the main problems M&S was facing in France was post-Brexit bureaucracy, a spokesperson has said. That's a result of us becoming a third country, just in case Mr. M&S guy was not aware of that. Its partner, SFH, mainly operated shops on Paris high streets, selling fresh food products such as sandwiches, he said, due to hold-ups caused by red tape at the UK-French border because we're now a third country. It was impractical to get the foodstuffs to the shops. Well, surely you should have set up manufacturing within the EU. That's why I don't get why they didn't do that. In April earlier this year, we announced the reconfiguration of our food business in the Czech Republic, removing the sale of all fresh and chilled products from stores and instead doubling our ranges of frozen and ambient products. Now, I don't know what ambient products are, but obviously they've done that with frozen products because they last a lot longer when they're going through customs checks. You just need a van that has the facilities, or a lorry that has the facilities to keep the stuff cold. And we've got the great one, Faisal Islam, talking here, saying that giants such as M&S were able to muddle through, but no longer. There had been some hope that imposing UK import controls will provide an incentive for France, the Netherlands and Germany to ease controls on their side, which was never going to happen, by the way, because this is what they've been preparing for since 2016. We have failed to prepare for this eventuality. That's the difference. There, you wouldn't be able to use these kind of checks as a bargaining chip. Otherwise, other countries will try and do this, and they don't for a reason. Also would cause problems with most favourable nations unless we come up with some sort of deal with the EU, like a veterinary agreement. But that's not going to happen under this government. That discussion is now not happening, nor is there any move towards a veterinary agreement. Oh, we just mentioned that. Of the sort the EU already has with Switzerland or New Zealand. So they have dynamic alignment with Switzerland, and they have equivalency with New Zealand, because New Zealand can actually be trusted. Shouts out their Prime Minister. That might have eased some of the new export red tape burden. I mean, it would have done. It would have done most definitely. Either one of those would have made things easier. Instead, there is a private acceptance that after this Brexit deal, fewer sandwiches will be exported to France, and that is the price for regulatory and trade freedom to export more elsewhere. Like where? Where have we gained the freedom to export that we didn't have before? Nowhere. Nowhere was like, your standards are too high, you can't export here. No one would say that. Only an idiot would say that. Only a Boris Johnson would say that. So the Brexit effect. So Steve Dresser, Managing Director of Grocery Insight, saying Marks and Spencer's in France was another casualty of Brexit. So it's likely for the minimal returns, the numbers simply no longer made sense to M&S, that they weren't selling enough sandwiches, not enough were getting through to make it worth their while, essentially. Businesses are faced with costs either through having to pay for warehouses in EU countries. That's something I think JD have done, and having cash tied up in stock through wastage if products with short shelf lives are held up at the border. So either you set up a facility within the EU or you risk it at the border, essentially. Or, they have gaps on the shelves due to supply chain problems, which we are facing in the UK. The outlook remains bleak on this front, with the deal signed by the UK government tying this country to checks and delays at the borders. That isn't the specific part of the deal. That's just because we're falling foul of WTO rules, because we are a member of the WTO, and the EU are going to do third country checks on us because we're a third country. Like, I don't know why that's so hard for people to understand. The outlook remains bleak. I mentioned that bit. Mr. Dresser said, adding that this was baffling as we have voted to take back control. We have taken back control, but so have the EU. We're a third country. We are treated as a third country. That's it. It's not hard to figure out what's going on here. We are a third country. That's why we're being treated as such. We cannot be trusted. We're constantly threatening deregulation. We're going to start doing stuff with GM food products soon. Like, come on, guys. Let's get it together here. So yeah, not much more to say on this one apart from M&S guys, start talking to the government. You have some leeway. Start going to the press. Say, look, M&S has been impacted because of Brexit. We're going to start moving supply chains out of GB, essentially. We're going to be moving more manufacturing and supplying within the EU because we don't have a choice. That's going to impact British workers. Do it. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.